Hi, Haley.
Hello, dear Brian. We're back for another amazing time together, an amazing
Amazing
chat.
time. Yep. I have
We
a
had to
story to
stop
tell.
ourselves to actually record because we're already on a roll.
I know we're already around, and we could keep going if you didn't remember to push start.
Oh,
Haley, the other night, Ray and I and a friend were out for dinner. And I said to Ray, Ray, do you see that guy across the room? Uh, the blonde, he's a bleached blonde, younger guy, muscles, who's having dinner with the guy who looks like he's 90. Yeah, he said, yeah. And I said, he's been flirting with me all night. And he said, no, he's been flirting with me. And we agreed to drop it. But then he got up, the guy got up and went to the bathroom. And he was gone forever. And I said, Ray, he's been waiting for us. And so I put that out on a column about, who would get up amongst us and go follow him to the bathroom, because I know lots of people I know
that's the
would,
thing.
and who would not, and why not? And so I threw out the idea that there are nesters, and then there are people for whom having freedom to have lots of sex with multiple partners is very important to their identity. So, what do you think of that?
First of all, educate me. Uh, what's the bathroom thing? Like, how do you know? Or is there a signal that that person's getting up for the bathroom and is waiting for you there?
The signal would be the flirting he was doing. And of course, I was returning eye contact just because I wasn't sure if he was flirting or not.
Like me?
Yeah. Are you looking at me? And then,
Must be the cashmere.
yeah. And so, uh, but it would be a natural thing after somebody is staring at you across the room and he gets up. Now, after 2 minutes, you'd think, no, he's just peeing. But this was like 10 minutes. He could have had a shower, changed diapers on a baby. I mean, he
And
was
what's
gone
the
for,
like usual? So if you had got up and gone to the bathroom, like after this flirtatious thing, how long would you wait in the bathroom to see if your messages were received and the person was open to it?
uh, get me probably not very long because I'm inexperienced with that. And I don't want to look foolish. I'm nervous about the protocols, right? Uh, and if the guy did follow me, I don't know how the conversation would start. What would probably happen would be that he would back into a stall, right? And just stand there. And I would see his feet. So I would walk into the stall and the
Bada boom, bada
lock
bang.
the door would be locked, and then it could be any number of things. It most likely is oral sex, right? He pulls his jeans down and pulls out his penis. I suck it when he's done ejaculating. He zips up. I walk out, wash my hands, and go back to the dinner table. Or there's anal sex if somebody brought a condom and lube.
And we're using the word nesters and promiscuous here. I forgot what your other word was. We have nesters
No,
and we
no,
have
I didn't use the word promiscuous. I used the phrase freedom to have as much sex with as many people as they desire, in order to that's part of their identity,
right.
just as being a nester is part of my identity.
Mine too. I'm with you in nesting world. My little
But
safe.
but
I know the cues.
there are gay nesters who, with their partner present, would get up and follow him into the bathroom. That's just their agreement that it's okay.
Would
Um,
you call that an open relationship then?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that's an open relationship. And sometimes the person wouldn't do it with their partner present, and the agreement is that
There would be rules.
they won't
Yeah.
talk about it. He doesn't want to know anything about it, but that the guy feels the freedom to get up and satisfy an itch. Uh, so my brother and I talked about it a bit because we were both raised Irish Catholic, and he thinks the church, and I agree, had a lot to do with the amount of freedom we felt to explore our sexuality. I also think it has to do with not having a big sex drive for whatever reason. Now, there are people who are asexual who just don't feel any sexual
Mm.
attraction to anybody. But I'm on that continuum, not that I've had great sex with Ray and a few others, but with Ray in my life, we don't have sex anymore. Okay. Now there are some people who would just be aghast that somebody my age isn't having sex, right? And I just talked to a guy who's, I'm going to give you a little bit of an education. I just talked to my hair cutter who's 54, who young people want him to top them. You know what that means?
Hmm.
Okay, they're the bottom. They want him to top. But he can't do it instantly. To he needs time to stimulate enough to have an erection and a firm enough erection to insert his penis successfully into the guy's anus. Uh, so a lot of young people don't know that that's going to happen, right?
Hmm.
And the more meds you take, or if you've had prostate cancer, the more likely it is that you're going to have a great difficulty getting an erection. But I don't know if you saw this episode on The Pit. You watch The Pit?
Mm-mm. No.
Oh, great medical show. Noah Wiley won Best
Oh,
Actor.
right.
Yeah. Well, the latest season has a guy who came in because he gave his penis two shots. You're supposed to only give it one shot. He gave it two, and he had an erection for 6 hours, and they had to drain his penis in order for it to become flaccid again. So some people give themselves shots, others take a pill, right? Viagra or whatever, uh, and in order to get an erection, to stay,
And
in the
that would be, I
game.
mean, that's a dude thing, whether you're straight or gay. Those are dude
Ye-
problems that.
Older straight men often have to do the same thing.
Mhm.
It's a lot of it. It depends on physiology and I think DNA and upbringing. My brother said, he thinks he would have had more sex if it hadn't been for AIDS. And AIDS did scare the shit out of all of us,
Mhm.
you better stick close to home because, these other people in San Francisco are going to 3 to 4 funerals a week of friends,
Mhm.
and so, you certainly didn't want to be part of that.
Right.
Uh, so any rate, going back, if I can, with you, you tossed out when I asked you what you wanted to talk about. You tossed out the word control. I don't know where you were going to go with that, but it does come into this issue because I was turned on by the guy flirting with me, and he was younger and, attractive, he wasn't going to get sexiest man of the year, but, he was, anyway, he was attractive. And you know, I had to think through, my feelings about, okay, what would you do if you went in? Are you attracted? Do you want to go in? Uh, of course, all the time, I'm not aware that Ray's thinking the same thing because he thinks the guy's flirting with him. But
Maybe you need to go to the bathroom.
I could have gotten out of the banquet easier than he could.
It would have been a good comedy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not. I think there is an element, I do think that there is an element of control in your desires and being able to have the awareness to think through the desires to first of all determine if it's actually a heart desire or ego and what would be the consequences of that. And I think that that could be construed as a level of control. I'm a nester. I'm also a monogamous.
Oh,
I'm
what any? What?
monogamous. I'm a one
Oh, you're
person.
monogamous.
Yeah, I personally don't understand the open relationship thing. Like
Uh-huh.
people can explain it to me all they want and it still doesn't, I'm still not going to be like, I get it.
Straight women generally don't get it, and it's not part of their framework.
Right. I'm just like, I just don't know how, like for me, when I look at that stuff, I'm always like, where is the line of addiction? Where's the mental, psychological, spiritual facet to these things? And so when I look at open relationships, I don't necessarily judge them. Obviously, I discern that's not what I want. But I do look at it and I'd be like, all right, where is this in terms of these are two whole and complete people that are making these decisions from a place of awareness and a place of this is actually making me whole versus this is my escape. And it has
Verse,
been my experience to date. The people that I have spoken to in open relationships have all used words and tones and mannerisms that I've always come away going like, they're totally escaping. They're not in this for what they say that is. Oh, this is my freedom and this is me expressing my freedom. I've always walked away going like, you're not even touching freedom. You're still afraid.
yeah, a lot of it is loneliness, I think. But it's also, Haley, when you were in uh, college, maybe, your girlfriends did not say to you that in order to be a real woman, you needed to have sex with a lot of people.
They didn't say that to me, but I am aware that that pressure and those conversations are had between different women.
Okay. Well, multiply that by 100,000 and you get the pressure that gay men feel when they're coming
Mm-hmm.
out from other gay men to be
Active.
carefree, have as much sex as you can,
Why?
and a real man, a gay man is not a real gay man unless he has anal sex. That's the messages you got when you were coming out.
Right.
And there were very few role models of people who were nesters. I mean, Ray and I were a role model at 6 months. I mean, it was
Right.
just crazy.
And I think, I mean,
So,
like, I have several, there's you and Ray, I have several other role models that are
mhm.
in very nesting monogamous relationships that are gay as well as straight or lesbian. So they're there. But, to me, I'm always, when we talk about promiscuity or the freedom to have sex, I've yet to meet a person that is not hurting other people in the process and just going along with it's not my fault.
Do you think they're hurting themselves?
I and this doesn't just have to do with sex. I think anybody that is operating from a place of fear and reaction is hurting themselves. And in doing so, also creating harm is the natural sort of collateral damage.
So, what would you say if a gay man was listening to this and in response to what you said that's bullshit? You
I'm
know,
sure.
yeah,
I'm sure.
because
Like, I'm
it's a
okay with
different,
that.
yeah.
Because
I'm okay with
again,
it. I'm okay with it too. That goes into the whole thing of judgment. You know, that's why
yeah.
I don't use the word promiscuous because it's a judgment.
And again, that goes to, I am a nester. I
Mhm.
do isolate myself and I'm very picky about sort of who I spend time with. but I've also had many, many conversations in my time. And I'm also very interested in humans. I don't look at people and like, oh, you're dressed that way. We're not talking. If you're interested,
Uh-huh.
we're going to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And again, that goes to my point is that to this day, I have not had a conversation with a person that is having sex freely that hasn't immediately got defensive about it.
Well, it's hard to for especially for a sexually active gay man to have the conversation in open, with different people because he knows there's lots of judgment about promiscuity or about having multiple partners, unless he's with other gay men, right?
Doing the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, and he can, and one of the things that I, say is that the person who has sex with lots of people ought to be able to do so without others condemning them, just as those who are nesters ought to be able to be so without being made fun of, right?
I agree with you. And for me, that line is harm. If you're harming yourself or other people are being harmed as a result of your thoughts, words, and actions, then I don't, there should be some conscious, like, there should be some level of conscious discussion or words. I think if you're choosing that and you're being very open and you're being very conscious of your partners and nobody's getting hurt, you're not getting hurt, and you're coming from a very stable, grounded place, I'm okay with that. The freedom, go for it.
Hmm.
Like I said, my line is if there's self-harm or you're harming other people in the process, you can't convince me that it's a healthy outlet.
Guys who are, in my experience, who are players, people who have, um, can be real, can fear judgment, obviously more than a nester, uh, because they aren't sure they can, some of them aren't sure that they can defend it as uh, healthy or appropriate.
Hmm.
And and there's a lot of judgment out there because people feel insecure in their own lifestyle, right? Which is why, and this is you pick this up in your work towards enlightenment, drop all judgment. It's not about you, it's about them, and let
Mhm.
them make their own decisions. It's their journey.
And you
They
have
have
a
to come.
choice to walk alongside it and get absolutely frustrated, or you just have a choice to be like, you be you, I'm going to do me over here in my nest.
And you have the choice of asking them to tell you their story.
Hmm.
Tell me, how you got to where you are, uh, including family, faith, whatever. What is your relationship with your partner if you have one? Uh, do you prefer to be alone or would you like to be with a partner? I mean, I find that enlightening to have those kind of conversations as long as the person doesn't feel as if they're being analyzed, right?
Right.
That
It's
you're
a
just saying,
conversation, it's not a mental therapy session.
right. So that means usually for me that I need to share as much with them as I'm
Mhm.
asking them to share with me.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree with you. And I have gone through a phase of attracting and being in relationships with players, which I then had to sit back and be like, why? And enough, how am I contributing to this and choosing to step out of that lane? I think in all of my experience with those players, they were upfront saying, I'm not looking for a relationship right here, right? Like with you. But they absolutely pursued me to feed a part of them that wanted a temporary relationship. Does that make sense at all?
They
So,
pursued you in order to have a temporary relationship?
right. They wanted a relationship on their terms, not on my terms.
Well, that's okay if the two of you talk about it and
That's okay
agree.
if we talk about it, but what I found was that they considered themselves players, but they were still looking for the connection. They
Uh,
still wanted the, like, while I'm with you, we're in a relationship. And then after the, like, when you go and I have to sit alone, I'm going to call somebody else because I want to be in a connection.
well, I don't want to be alone.
Right.
I want somebody, there to cuddle, and to be able to call when I'm feeling down, but it's not that I'm looking for a soulmate.
Right. And I think it's that, again, going back to my experience, and if you talk to many other women that have been in that same situation, or not the same situation, but in situations with players, what creates the hurt is that confusing sort of yes, no. And you get caught up in a cycle of like, oh, but when we're together, we're in a relationship, but when we're not, we're not. And I think my point here being how, again, it's hard to convince me that that's a person coming from a healthy frame of mind and
Hmm.
validating that player lifestyle is a healthy lifestyle for the mind, for the spirit.
Well, I think we need to do work with women or with men, who are in well, men and women. We need to be able to help them get to the point where they can make the decision that this is not healthy and this is not what I want. Some people are so afraid of losing
Mm-hmm.
what love they've got that they won't leave the relationship for fear of being lonely the rest of their lives. He's a jackass, but he's my jackass, or
Right.
he
Like
or
he
he's
likes
better
me
than
the
nothing.
most.
Yeah, or he's better than nothing. Right.
Right. And I think it's just so complicated. And I think I do observe these things. Like again, in my experience of, because it's super interesting to me because I don't get it. So I'm always willing to talk more to people so I can understand more. Like whether they're players and same thing, women that are players, women that believe that are in open relationships. What I have observed is it's not just the sex that they're using, they're either drinking a lot or they're taking drugs.
And you might add to the mix that since they were little, they got a lot of attention for their looks. And they had a lot of guys who wanted to be with them in high school, a lot of guys who wanted to have sex with them in high school.
Mhm.
And they get into this prom queen, uh, thing that I can't settle down because I'll lose the adoration, I'll lose the competition. I got to keep working at it, which means that if I don't have sex with them, they're not going to be interested in me anymore.
Yeah, the
So
value is very much tied to that. And again,
yeah,
again, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying everybody should have a life to lead. These are just things that I observe. And, my question here is that if you can't have sex without alcohol or drugs or
yeah,
some kind of substance to um, pull you out of the conscious moment, again, you can't tell me that this is a healthy lifestyle.
right.
And I think, on the like further to that, I do believe that there is a thing called sex addiction that is in the same boat as alcohol addiction, drug addiction, food addiction.
Uh-huh.
I think sometimes people use these things to mask the sex addiction.
Or yes, and I agree with you. I think that, especially in the earlier days, there was a lot of drinking in the gay male community because bars were our churches.
Right.
Bars were where we gathered, and the only place we felt welcome. But that didn't mean we walked into the bars coming from our Irish backgrounds and Catholic background, that we didn't walk into the bar feeling like we knew what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the joy of gay sex was helpful to me because it explained things. about oral and anal sex. It explained it, and that information was helpful to me. Not that I became, on the prowl, but just that I was not as scared as I was
Right. Well
initially.
informed.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think,
So,
we've spoken about this, how important it is to have that kind of education at a much earlier age than when you're sexually active.
absolutely. And that's what's so frustrating now about all the books that are banned. My friend Mark Schoen, who I had coffee with a couple days ago.
And we've had him as a guest too.
Yes, yes. Well, his movies and his books are being banned. And they're so simple. They're children's books that help children name their parts. You know, this is called a penis. This is called, a breast. This is called, and so that got banned because children should not be exposed to that information.
I mean, we could go down a rabbit hole there.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. You and I should move to
There's just a big old
Greenland.
file thing going on right
Well,
now.
I do hope you've noticed that Trump has mentioned Mexico as
Oh,
one of his goals
derangement.
right now,
Yeah.
though he's focused on Greenland.
No, he's causing trouble here. Like
Yeah.
there's just, I don't know what day we're on. I want to say over the weekend or Monday,
Yeah.
a US Air Force, one or two planes just flew in and landed without any permission, nothing.
Isn't that crazy? It's really like The Empire Strikes Back. You've
It
got this
really is. I'm just like,
Darth Vader or the Emperor, and
it really is. And it's just, that they're all in Davos at the moment. And two very important words that came out of that were Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada's speech was very on point, I thought. And then Gavin Newsom, too, was being very Gavin Newsom with the press
Mhm.
and just calling out how this is just nonsense.
It is nonsense. But well, you and I don't want to go there. Yeah, but
Getting back to sex.
it's emotionally disturbing more
It
than
really
not
is.
not knowing whether or not to go into the bathroom.
Which is still, I think it's one of the things that we're always surprised to if you're a nester. You're always surprised if you still got it.
Well, you're always surprised too by the stories that are told about where and how others are having sex. The mine shaft,
Mm.
in New York was a gay bar where people would get into a bathtub and let people pee on them all night. That there was a donkey allegedly that people stood in line to have anal sex with.
My goodness.
I know. There was always a what's next? What's the next thrill? What's the next thing of
The most shocking.
degradation because I need to be degraded because of how I feel about myself, or a high because I've reached this level of sexual, um, what,
Numbness.
numbness? Yeah. Or, that I've conquered every level of it.
Yeah.
So, uh, I mean, it's fascinating
It
subject.
really
I,
is fascinating. I'm with you there. Like, I don't want to be a part of it, but I'm still like, wow.
People would go into it, they would park these semis, by the water, and people would go in, no lights, and all you do is take off your clothes and sort of mingle with, 200 people all naked.
Which, you know, you're speaking mostly from sort of the gay perspective, but there's the hippie world where that is also very
Yeah,
normal and considered healthy. Like you're
true
grounding
love.
and getting in touch with the feminine.
Right, right. Don't let
To
the
that, I'm still like, it's the
institution.
same as you. My reaction is just like, what?
Yeah.
Wow. Um, it's not for me, but I find it fascinating. And I'm always interested in hearing how people who do that or have done it express themselves around it or of it.
and you may not know this, but when you're coming out, if you are a nester, you're accused by other gay men of being an assimilationist because you want just what heterosexuals want. You want the white picket fence, you want the house,
You're not
the
real.
with the dog. You're in the cave. You're looking at shadows, and you're not seeing what's real. And what's real is sexual freedom, because you're never going to become spiritually aware if you don't have sexual freedom. I mean, that's the stuff you hear.
It's the stuff, and I have had experiences, continuous experiences through my life where I'm I'm totally okay being friends with anybody as long as there's sort of respect and the privilege of time on both sides. So I have no problem having friends that are gay or lesbian. And several times I have been welcomed into lesbian worlds and booted out of the lesbian worlds because I must be lesbian if I'm okay being around lesbians. And if I don't admit to being lesbian, then I'm like not ready to come out the closet yet.
Yes, some people, right? I mean, there are lots of lesbians who would welcome you, and
Oh, there's
they
yeah, I
forget
have
you're straight, right?
yeah, and I think
Because you're so comfortable.
I will say that those lesbians are nesters,
Our nesters, yeah.
and the
Uh,
gays that I'm able to have very neutral relationships with are nesters.
and the ones who are single may resent you being there and them not wanting to waste their time on you if you're not lesbian.
And that happens too with straight guys. They will be
Uh-huh.
frustrated if you don't like. I found like it never in my life was that so obvious than in Italy.
Then when?
When I was in Italy, and
Oh, in Italy.
Italian guys will say to you, "You're wasting my time. You either come with me now or move on because I've got to get my action on." And I was
Well,
just like, "You're so blunt."
that's what basically the guy who went to the bathroom and stayed a long while came back and didn't make any more eye contact.
He was just
You
like, "You're
know,
done. You wasted my
you're
time."
wasting my time.
Which again,
Uh,
to that point, I still come back to, I think because I always see things more from sort of the spiritual, the light, the let's have a conversation about journeys. To that, I'm like, if you think your time was wasted, then we're probably not going to get on anyway.
right,
Like
right.
anybody that wants to invest and just for a transaction, we're not really going to get on in real life anyway.
Yeah, but they don't want that. They want the
And
quickie.
which again comes to the question for me, how grounded, how at peace are you with yourself if you are operating on a transactional level?
And I'm sure there are Italian women who think this whole thing is ridiculous and they want to be with people who are interested in them. And there are Italian women who feel like a nice glass of wine and a dinner, pays for whatever I'm going to do. Right?
There's women, they're absolutely there. And I mean, you're talking to me now at 47. At 20, I didn't have this wisdom. I didn't have this lived experience where I was like, you're gonna be okay if you say no.
Well, you're a duckling at 20, you know. You
Yeah,
know,
you don't know that there is more life after this guy chatting you up.
right.
You like, and if it's a hot guy and he's paying attention to you, like at that point, my confidence was so low. I was just like, oh my God, he must think I'm beautiful, and all these other people aren't as beautiful as me.
He chose me, yes.
Yeah,
And if I don't let him choose me, then I'm not really choosable.
right.
Right?
And I had to, that was a big theme of my evolution. Like I had to eventually, when I was done with the players, where I was just like, why am I always attracting these kinds of guys? I had to do the work on my confidence, my fears about rejection.
Uh-huh.
And it was only when I actually did that work that the guy's changed. And I wouldn't
I
even, the guy's changed and it became very few and far between.
once I got I've had a couple short-term relationships before Ray and I got together uh 50 years ago.
That's
But
amazing. Talk about nesting. You should get a
yeah,
quilt or like a trophy.
I know. For 50 years I've not worried about not being enough. I've
Mm,
not worried about not being picked first, right? Because he and I, from the very beginning, were best friends. And that's a wonderful thing to have in a relationship.
it is.
And then best friends become soulmates. And then, it's kind of ridiculous because you're both nesters too, right? And you seem to have the same sexual drive.
It seems so easy. And I think like it feels easy where you can just like exhale and be like, what was I worried about? It's like, look how easy this is. Why did I
Uh-huh.
make such a big deal out of it?
Uh-huh.
But I think too, again, in my observation, the people that are in those kind of relationships are continuously being aware, continuously working on being present. They're not just sitting back and being like, this is easy. And there's this continuous, like both people in that relationship are working on themselves to work on the relationship.
And both of them know that they're loved.
Yeah,
That's
like
really important to know
it's
that you're
the
loved.
motivation is that love. Like I love you so much that I'm doing this not because I want something out of it.
Right.
It gives
Right.
me peace. I'm good.
And I love you and you can relax.
Yeah, like I choose you, and I totally get that what you're saying. Like the choosing just dissolves. The like looking around and wanting like looking at other people dissolves. But I will say, I notice in myself that if I go out, and this happened just the other day, where a guy literally ran after me to ask for my name and my number,
Oh
and
no.
like, ew. And I told Hugo afterwards, and he was just like, ew, there are people like that. I'm like, we live in such a nest that we forgot that that world is still going out there. And he's like,
Uh-huh.
nobody ever runs up after me. I'm like, sir, I have seen you in the gym and I've seen the women looking at you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sexuality is sexuality, no matter
It's
where you are.
there. And I
People are
think,
attracted.
and I think when you're happy, you're more attractive.
Absolutely. From when Harry met Sally, I want what she's got.
I think
Uh-huh.
that if you're happy, and I also believe that if you are taken or you're in a relationship, you become more attractive because now you're a challenge.
Yes, because you don't need anybody.
Hmm.
And that's not the rules that I grew up with, because I grew up needing people, needing approval,
Yeah.
needing to know that I fit
Needing to
in,
be chosen.
yes. And even if you didn't have a strong sex drive, I didn't have a strong sex drive in high school, and so uh, the girl thing, I mean, that wasn't even on my radar. There was an all-girls school next door to this all-boys school, and we all had, everyone matched up
Interactions, right?
for 2 or 3 years, 4 years even. But that was mostly for me about dancing, you know. It wasn't about making out in the back of a car.
Or having a date.
Well, we dated. That was dates.
Yeah.
You went dancing, or
But you still
you'd
have
maybe
you
go to
had
a
to do the
movie.
work to get a date though, right?
You what, honey?
You had to do the work to get a date.
Well, people ended up being steadies. You
Hmm.
know, you dated the same person. I mean, I mean, I dated Jody, and Christine dated Terry, my friend Terry, and Jody and Chris decided that they wanted to switch, and Chris would go out with me, and Jody would go out with
So it was
Terry.
more about companionship.
Well, they wanted to see if there was any magic if they
Oh,
switched, right? Uh, and Chris and Terry got went to the same college and got married.
oh
Life,
wow.
yeah, lifelong.
And they're still together?
Terry has passed on,
Oh,
but the whole family is about Terry. I mean, all the kids they went to uh, a lake for a family gathering, and all the kids wore uh, Terry's favorite jersey, from whatever team he liked,
oh, nice.
same number. And so they honor him. And so, and of course, Jody's now a lesbian.
Perfectly.
So there you go. We were safe for each other, even if we
How
didn't know.
nice. What a relief.
Yeah, yeah.
I hated anything where there was you have to pick somebody, whether it was sports or games or dances. I hated it. I never went to dances because I just hated the potential of having to be chosen and potentially not being chosen.
Because your job was to sit and wait rather than to go out and ask somebody to
Yeah.
dance. That would be too forward,
Oh, girls don't do that. A good girl
except
doesn't do
on
that. And
Sadie
even
Hart.
like in sports with
Yeah,
girls, like I hated waiting to be picked for which side you were going to play on for the sport. I just hated it. And
there,
I'm decently athletic. I was never the last one. Sometimes I was the first one. Sometimes I was always in like the top five. I still hated it. I still hated it. I felt so awful for the people that weren't picked.
you and I are kindred souls, because that would be my reaction too, is wanting to take care of the ones that weren't picked.
And I mean,
Uh,
they were absolutely not sporty at all. But I was just like, oh, this is such a terrible way of dealing with choices. And oh, I hated it. I hated it. And it's interesting. I was listening to Tony Robbins is doing a lot of press right now and a lot of podcasts. I don't think he's going to be on ours. And there's this one podcast called The Diary of a CEO by Stephen, and he had Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins like still gets choked up now about how his primary motivation is he hates seeing people suffer, and he does everything he can to not see people to alleviate suffering. And I was just like, dude, I get it. Like that
mhm.
thing that in you that is just like, I will take it on. So nobody has to
And
suffer.
to my delight, Haley, I believe that there are a lot of people who feel the same way.
Oh, I agree with you.
They feel disconnected right now because, everything seems to be tumbling apart, but they are still out there every day trying to do their own thing, to help people, uh, not just get by, but feel good. It's the funniest thing. There's a guy at the grocery store, who checks out groceries,
Hmm.
and he can be really grumpy. And so my job is to make him not grumpy when I'm in line.
Whether he likes it or not.
Yeah, and he told me that he wasn't in a good mood that day, and so I thought you should put a sign up that says, "Don't ask," leave me alone. Well, the guy behind me was in one of those motorized carts. There was a dog at the very bottom of it, but when I was finished loading my groceries and doing my credit card, I said to the guy, "Would you like some help putting stuff on the belt?" Oh, he said, "Oh, that would be great." So I pulled all the canned goods out and anything he was paying for. He said, "Thanks a lot." And I said, "You're welcome." You know, what big deal is that, right? Helping somebody put their stuff on a belt. And as I was leaving, the guy who was checking me out put his hand across the belt and said, "Have a good day." And he's never done that. But he watched me do something that he
Yeah, brilliant.
admired and appreciated, and he wanted me to know that he noticed it. I didn't need him to do that.
No.
I didn't need it, but I was interested in how kindness can elicit a response of appreciation when you didn't expect it.
I call that love.
Yeah, people are watching each other.
People are watching each other, and even if we are so different, we have different perspectives. We are all connected by these fundamental truths, and love is one of those fundamental truths. Whenever
I
there is
used to,
authentic love, we will resonate towards it.
we will, I mean, there are
Even if you're the
things that,
grumpiest dude who hates his job at the checkout, you,
yeah,
you feel that love and you're like soften.
yeah, I'm okay for today.
Mm.
I've seen something that I appreciate. Life is not as awful as I thought it was, right? Um, all that's going on, and we're not going to get back into it, but all that's going on, this upheaval, is shaking people to their core. I never thought it would be. I'm just flabbergasted every day. I just think this is a dream. This isn't real.
We could go down that rabbit hole too.
Yeah, we're not going to do that, but I think a lot of
Delivering.
people are shaken to their core was the point that I wanted to make. And having struggling with believing in goodness, struggling believing in kindness, when they see people being treated so poorly, by ICE agents or uh
Anybody. I mean, it's free
anybody.
reign out there.
Yeah, yeah, it's disheartening. So it takes a lot
Hmm.
to not let it in, to to say this is not going to impact me. But the same exact thing can also prompt people to want to have more sex.
Yes.
It can prompt some people to want to be more demonstrative in their kindness, and
Hmm.
it can prompt other people to feel, screw it, I'm having as much sex as
And
I
I think,
want.
we're talking about like sort of these more darker addictions. I think you can be absolutely addicted to doing the kind thing, and that's your escape.
You're exactly
Like
right,
people
because
pleasing.
there is a high that comes from
Yeah.
kindness.
And I think, ultimately, we started this where my topic was control, and we're running out of time now. Coming back to control, it is all about control. What can we control, and what addictions help us control? And I think my addiction to trying to be the best possible person and my addiction to really exploring unconditional love means that my control is control my thoughts, control my words, control my actions, and always
Right.
align them with my working definition of love is helps me to be the more grounded love, and it also helps me to see those acts of very authentic love and kindness. And it also does show the very abstract too, the contrast.
Can I quickly say, and I know we're out of time, when you say you're addicted to kindness, you don't think about being kind. It doesn't
I,
offset.
but
I
I
mean, you get a,
do, when I look at the word addicted, addiction is like something that you do with such dedication. And I'm very dedicated to it. I'm
well,
very,
you're dedicated, but you're not addicted so that you're going to withdraw if you don't be kind to people.
no, but I can be pretty harsh on myself.
Well, yes, you can be harsh on yourself, but that's not the
Yeah.
same,
Yeah.
right?
So I think it's you pick, the better way of saying this is I think part of the joy about living and living each day and aging and seeing
Uh-huh.
more and being interested in different people and different aspects of life is that you learn and you get to use that learning to inform how you want to be today.
Yes. And each day it gets easier to make the right choice.
It
If you
does.
practice, you're practicing every
Gotta
day.
practice.
No dramas, no judgment, no dramas, no judgment, you know. Uh return why don't you help put that person's grocery cart away because they left it in the parking lot. It's not your responsibility. You put yours away, but why don't you go out of your way to put theirs away?
It's always, I think it's just these little things. And, maybe we're all shook up for the right reasons, that maybe
Yeah.
we need to be shook up a little bit to really be able to be like, all right, who am I going to be?
Hmm.
What kind of behaviors am I going to now adopt or take on?
Hmm.
And I think
Hmm.
we are very clearly being shown that there's really only two sides to this.
Yep.
And it's not that they're right or wrong. It's just if you're going to choose one side, you're going to feel more peace. If you're going to
Hmm.
choose another side, you're going to be wrapped up in a pattern of aggravation.
Which bubbles you for the rest of your life. You can't get
Yeah.
out of it, until you start thinking about it and breaking it, bad habits. Right.
Yeah. And I think those are like, for me, that would be like, that would be almost like the litmus test for me. If you want to be in an open relationship, does it bring you peace or are you aggravated? Are you finding things to
Hmm.
be aggravated about?
Hmm. And is your relationship deteriorating without you being
Yeah.
fully aware of it?
Yeah. But for me, I'm happy in my nest.
You love your nest. I love my nest
I'm
too.
happy in my nest. I love my little birds in my nest.
Yeah, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for everything.
Yeah.
Um, and everything that's happened to me, all the people I'm grateful.
I,
Uh,
yeah. There's
even
times where I'm just like, I could have learned a bit sooner, but
Hey, listen, you learn when you were supposed to
we
learn.
learn when we're supposed to. And, sometimes we learn at exactly the right time with exactly the right people.
Right.
And they still, even if we feel like we're slighted, they still deserve the gratitude for being the teacher.
Well, you're my teacher.
You're mine too. And I love
Uh, we-
spending time with you, my fellow nester.
Me too. Me too, Haley.
We'll
I
see
look
you in
forward to
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Thank you.
It will be February then.
Yes. And I'll be 48 or 78.
Am
You're 48. I'll be 78.
I? No,
Huh?
I don't know. Am I 48?
I just made that up.
I might be 48. I don't know if I'm 47 or 48. I
Oh,
might
is
be
that right?
48.
Well, I was at least close. It wasn't embarrassing.
Either way, we're very mature nesters with young
Well,
hearts.
yes, we
Lots of
are.
love.
I love you.
Bye.
Bye bye.